So first we're going to get a measurement for our breathing rate. So in order to do this, you're just going to need a timer, so your smartphone or a watch, and you're going to time yourself for 1 minute and count the number of breaths you take. So you need to be in a seated position, and you also got to make sure that you're not trying to breathe any differently to how you would normally breathe. So an inhale and an exhale is 1. Inhale, exhale, 2. So you're just going to count the number of breaths that you breathe in 1 minute. So let's pause the video, set yourself up, and we'll be back in 1 minute. So before we look at some data based on the measurement that we just took, let's first talk about a famous doctor. So a Russian doctor, Dr. Buteyko, he has spent his whole adult life, over 50 years, teaching people how to breathe correctly. And as a result, he's helped over tens of thousands of people throughout the world and been able to reverse over 200 chronic diseases. So one of his most important discoveries was when he was working with sick and terminally ill people, and he found that these people had a higher respiratory rate, which means that they were breathing faster, and healthy people tended to have a lower respiratory rate, which means they were breathing slower. So based on these findings, I'm going to put up some information that you can compare that first measurement that you just took. Keeping in mind that this is not the most accurate way of measuring our breath, but it's going to give you a base to work with throughout the series of these videos. Perhaps the most puzzling thing here is the idea that if we're breathing more, aren't we taking more oxygen into our body? And the answer is no. And to understand why, we have to talk a little bit about carbon dioxide. So carbon dioxide is not just simply a waste product of the body, but it has a very specific role. It is actually key in helping our body to absorb oxygen. Carbon dioxide dilates the veins and the arteries in our body that allows the oxygen to be taken to the cells. So the faster that we breathe, the less carbon dioxide we have in our body, which means the less oxygen we have in our cells. Now, what does this all mean? Let me give you a quote from a very famous medical textbook. All chronic pain, suffering and disease is caused by a lack of oxygen at a cellular level. So when we think about the health of our body, we need to think about the health of our cells, because our whole body is made of these cells, over 37 trillion worth. From our hair to our skin, our organs, our bones, everything is made up of these cells. Now, cells use oxygen as a primary fuel to keep themselves happy and healthy. And when we don't provide enough oxygen to the cells is when the onset of disease and illness begins. This is why it is crucial to start to learn how to breathe effectively so that we can provide our body with the richest amount of oxygen available. So join us for the next video when we look at the physical and psychological effects that are limiting us from breathing correctly. Look forward to seeing you next time.